First one comes from Jacob.
What?
Jacob says, in your guys' opinion, what does Ragnarok have to do to top Elden Ring as front runner for Game of the Year this year? After you, Jacob.
Well, if it's anywhere near as good as the first one, then I think it could very well win Game of the Year. But that's a lot to live up to. What does it have to do in particular? Honestly, it just needs to be a worthy sequel to God of War. Was it 2018 or 2019? When did it come out?
2018.
2018. I mean, I'm a big fan of the original one. So even if it just did the same things and just continued the story, I would be, assuming that the story is good and it ends up in a place that I approve of. Like if they don't just totally botch the story.
I disapprove of this.
Then even I would just praise the game. But I really don't know what it needs to do, honestly. Like it needs to do enough things gameplay wise to sort of mix it up a little bit. Like you need to add, like perhaps they'll add a new weapon to his arsenal. After they have, what was it, 2 in the original one?
Yeah, the Leviathan Axe, Blade of Chaos, and you have the shield.
Oh yeah, that's right, the
stuff
shield
as well.
So maybe they'll bring back like one of the weapons from old, well probably not from the old God of War games, but I'm sure they'll do something like that. And Atreus will probably be more involved this time around, I imagine. But really for me, it's all, like the main draw is just the gameplay and the narrative. And I'm sure they'll introduce new characters that are going to be interesting. It's really just a combination of all those things clicking for it to beat a game like Elden Ring. Because Elden Ring definitely has some flaws, in my opinion. So I don't think by any means it's just going to run away with the Game of the Year.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting Game of the Year conversation. I'm kind of the same camp with you. I think 2018's God of War is unequivocally a masterpiece. I know we've said that a lot over the years. The interesting thing for me with God of War is that I've never once been compelled to replay it. Even with the frame rate upgrades, even on PC, I still have not been compelled to replay it. And I don't know why that is, because I loved every minute I spent with it. In fact, I have it logged on the internet because I had to do a full walkthrough for COD Connected on their YouTube channel. But that game was so well designed. The story was incredible. That's the challenge going into the sequel that I imagine they face is like, really, where can we go from here? Because it'd be one thing if it was just kind of good. And they're like, oh, we can only go up from here. But how do you go even further beyond? How do you go plus ultra with God of War 2018? Because the first one is so good that I don't know where they could have gone from there. And the good news is people that have been able to release their initial impressions have mostly been positive. I haven't heard anything negative. I think the only slightly negative thing I heard was from Gene Park on Twitter. Said that it's just more God of War and it's pretty good. But most people said, I think Skill Up had something interesting to say where he said, when I first started playing it, yes, it's very familiar, but it's so well designed that kind of just put it out of my mind that it's even a sequel. It's just a very well developed game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have commented on like the really cool, brutal finishers you can do on enemies now. I think they've done a lot more emphasis on shield combat. I know Atreus is apparently, like you said, more involved. So the big things for me in the story, of course, is a big part of what made God of War 2018 so special. Not to mention the presentation, the design of the different realms you go to, but the combat trees and the combinations and the armor system were like really, really fun. So whatever they can do to really enhance that, again, I have no idea. Because I always say, like, I'm not a game designer, so I would be stressed out of my mind to come up with those ideas. But those are big things for me, to take what really worked in the first one, of course, enhance that, but also introduce a few new ideas. That's always what makes sequels great, is like, it has what you loved about the first one in there, but a little more interesting, but then they throw in some new ideas to like mix things up. And I think the big one for me as well is a brand new weapon system. I don't know what it'll be, but I'm confident we're going to get a new weapon for sure. I always bring stuff back to Doom Eternal because I think Doom Eternal is also a masterpiece of game design, but think about all the different weapons and how they all work like an organism against all the enemies, and you can just seamlessly switch between them to deal with whatever enemy you're facing. They all kind of like complement each other, and then some enemies are affected by others in certain ways, and it's really, really brilliant. Can they do that with God of War? And it's a taste of that in 2018, where you have the Blades of Chaos that affect some enemies, and the Leviathan Axe is better for others. Throw in a third weapon into that sandbox, if not more, but at least one more to really mix it up even more and switch between them unanimously. I could imagine a dude, Blades of Chaos on one guy, Leviathan Axe on another. You got some other weapon you're using, and then not to mention Atreus doing his thing around you. Like, that's just sick.
Dude, what if we take Thor's hammer?
Maybe that's the thing, is that Leviathan Axe basically is Thor's hammer.
But it's not lightning.
Maybe you harness the energy from Mjolnir or something into
Yeah,
Leviathan
you put it in
X.
something else, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
A
an
lot
idea.
of potential though.
Certainly it'll be lightning though. That's the element he's missing.
Totally. That could be cool. He's got kind of like the fire with the Blades of Chaos, got ice with Leviathan. Lightning could be pretty sick. You make a good point, Jacob. Like I said, I'm hoping I eat my words that I said months ago. Like, it has potential to disappoint. The potential's still out there. The review embargo's up on Thursday, November 3rd, so we're going to know very soon what people think.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that it's coming out very soon. What is it, 2 weeks away?
Yeah, I think it's the 9th, right? Let me double check. November 9th, yeah, so right around the corner. It sucks though, I'm going out of town on November 9th. I'll be gone for 5 days.
Oh man.
So
You gonna take your
hopefully the whole
PS5?
game isn't spoiled for me. No, I'll be working the whole time.
you're gonna.
so.
Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah.
So I will not get to touch it for 5 days. Apparently spoilers are already out there, which is a shame because
I'm not
some retailers released it early.
I heard that.
And then 5 days out on the market, I will not have touched it. So I'm gonna have to go into like an echo chamber when I get back from my trip
I'll
and
have
just
it beat by
hunker down
then.
and play through it. Yeah. So I will be a bit behind, but I'm very excited to play it for myself. It'll be good timing too, because I'll have played a ton of competitive shooters leading up to God of War, so I'll definitely be in the mood to jump into a single-player focused action game. But yeah, to beat Elden Ring, it's just got to really bring in some new ideas with a heavy-hitting story, because Elden Ring really was sort of a reawakening for what an open-world game can be, kind of what Breath of the Wild did. And you really can have some really interesting and diverse builds in Elden Ring. The RPG elements of Elden Ring are very good. That'll be a good conversation at the end of the year. But Jacob, thanks for writing in, man.